Hi there. In today's video I wanted to talk about something that gets requested a lot here on the channel, which is my thoughts on kind of how you turn exercises into music. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to take the technique that you're learning on the instrument or these ideas that you're learning on the instrument and how to convert them so that you can actually use them. A really common example of this is maybe we're practicing some scales. Say we're practicing G major. I get a lot of students who can do this quite comfortably, but if we were, playing a song and there's, say, the chord progression goes G, C, D, back to G. My students, while they can play this perfectly, if I told them, we'll play over this backing track and see what happens, they tend to fall apart and it's hard for them to actually use it, which is funny because they've practiced it and they can do it, but they haven't practiced it in this context. I always kind of like to use the analogy of it's like learning a second language or something, where just because you understand and know a word doesn't mean you can use it comfortably in a sentence. So one really good way to overcome this is whether it's a backing track or whatever it is, maybe you've got a looper pedal going. I always recommend that they kind of break it down. So say, as a scale exercise on this, say we know all 5 positions of our major scale and we know them in a couple different keys. So say what we want to do, and let's maybe actually use the pentatonic scale for this example. So we'll say G major pentatonic, C major pentatonic, and if you don't know, and then D major pentatonic. If you don't know the pentatonic scale, I do have a video on it as well as free diagrams available to download from my website, so I encourage you to check that out. Link to my blog with those diagrams down in the description, and the video is on my channel. It shouldn't be too hard to find. So say we're trying to play the G major pentatonic over the G, we're trying to play C major pentatonic over the C, we're trying to play D major pentatonic over the D. One really good exercise before you get into actually trying to use it, because the big catch I think is when we try to feel these things in time. It seems like it should be easy to think G major over this, C major over this, and D major over this, but for some reason when we're getting comfortable with this idea of starting and playing in time, it feels like the rug's getting ripped out from under us. All of a sudden this one bar of G feels really short. So one way to kind of combat this is to just practice running the scale, but running them in time. So that would look like if my tempo's here, say I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm gonna play G major. So I'm just playing the pentatonic scale in time. I'm not trying to improvise, I'm not trying to write any crazy stuff. I'm literally just getting used to feeling in time and switching my brain between these scales. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and C major and 3 and 4 and D major, back to G. So that kind of breaks me into this. And then same story if we were working with maybe arpeggios. I would be playing a G major arpeggio, then a C major arpeggio, then a D major arpeggio, and then a G major arpeggio again. And again, before I worry about playing complex rhythms, trying to play crazy licks, I just want to get used to playing this content in time. So it's kind of teaching me the roadmap to how to play in time to this. So say we're playing over that, and I'll do it with arpeggios this time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then, once I get comfortable with that and I get used to kind of seeing in this area of the fretboard where these notes are, then I can start trying to be a little bit more creative with it. So say it's, I'll give you this one more time so that the sound's in your head. Now maybe I can go. Then I can start kind of messing around with it and coming up with melodies. And so that's one idea. And obviously, when I was doing that, and maybe not obviously, actually, I shouldn't say obviously, I was trying to kind of keep myself locked in one area of the fretboard because I'm consolidating all this information into this range of, 3 or 4 frets. You can do the same thing in, say, the next position of these shapes. Or the next one. Or the next one. Or the next one. And then after 5, it ends up just kind of repeating itself. So that's one approach to this. And then the second one that I want to bring up is a lot of the time my students kind of feel like they don't have any good ideas or they don't have any good melodies. And I think that's kind of BS because in our heads, we all know what a great guitar solo sounds like. We all know what we want to sound like. We just don't sound like it yet. And so a really, really good thing to do once you've gotten comfortable with, say, your arpeggios and maybe your pentatonic scale, is you actually sing an idea to yourself and then you figure out how to translate that onto the guitar. Because you know what you want to sound like, you just don't know how to bring it out of the instrument yet. So, say I want to go ba-da-ba-da-ba-doo-ba. I used that position of my G major pentatonic scale, and then what if I want to go da-ba 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 da-ba-da? Pieced it together. What if I want to go boo-da-doo, ba-da-da-boo-ba? Maybe that's... It was a little bit different, but again, and so say I missed it, that maybe that was closer to my original idea. Since I'm kind of just improvising, calling these out, I don't remember 100%. But this is a super, super fruitful way to figure out and find some vocabulary that A, is specifically yours because you're generating these ideas and then figuring them out. And then B, it's a really, really powerful way to find some of the things that you really love and respect in other people's playing, and then you can steal it, figure it out, and put it in your own. So using these tricks of arpeggios, like ba-da-da-da-da, that's an arpeggio. That's a really common kind of trick, or that's just going down an arpeggio. It's pretty straightforward. So using this to kind of decode the music around you, I think is a really wonderful idea, and I think it really, really helps kind of build your vocabulary and get more confident in your ideas. And it's also really fun, I find. It's kind of like you're on a scavenger hunt, but with a guitar in your hand. So anyways, there's some thoughts on how to actually turn to... So anyways, there's some ideas on how you can turn these exercises and this material that you're working on into actual music, because at the end of the day, that is the goal. Most people don't want to just hear a major scale played over and over and over and over and over again. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on what you can do in your practice. If you have any ideas you'd like to share with the community here in the comments, I'd love to read what you guys like to work on when you're trying to turn your exercises into music. But if you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It really helps me out more than you could know. If you're interested in taking a guitar lesson with me, I have a link to that down in the description as well. I'd love to sit down and work with you on whatever's troubling you on the guitar. And last but not least, I've got new videos coming out every Monday and Thursday. I'd love to see you in the next one. And until I do, I'll wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you get to have some fun playing the guitar. Thanks.